Shalom Israel. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect. And got this article, as you see on the screen here, it says, "Goodbye dollar, it was nice knowing you," in which this article came out July 5th, which was last Thursday, the day after so-called Independence Day. So Esau's making moves, in which this is another way you can prove how Esau Edom was a damn devil. Alright, because around the holidays, that's when Esau does the most moves, because he knows that everybody's in their folliness and stuck, sleeping. Alright, so that's when he can basically do his wickedness. Alright, so it says, "Goodbye dollar, it was nice knowing you," which in a nutshell, this means that America, alright, because when it goes into the dollar, it basically means the petrodollar, to where basically that's where America has its stronghold at. That's how it can be able to control these other nations through their monetary system. Alright, so it says, after the past 2 years, the White House has initiated trade disputes, insulted allies and enemies alike, and withdrawn from or refused to ratify multinational treaties and agreements. And that's right, man. It's like, America is messing it up for these other nations. Because these are not just unilateral agreements. These are multinational treaties, basically meaning that a treaty that America pulls out, it not only affects America, but it affects these other nations, man. Like with these deals with Iran, like the JCPOA. All right, now, Iran is feel some type of way about it, even to the fact that they're not selling, or they're pissed off and not selling oil to these other nations now. They cut off the Straits of Hormuz. All right, so it says, it has also expanded the reach of its unilateral imposed rules, forcing other nations to abide by its demands or face economic sanctions. While the stated Trump administration intention has been to enter into new arrangement more favorable to the United States, the end result has been quite different, creating a broad consensus within the international community that Washington is unstable, not a reliable partner, and cannot be trusted. Okay? Hey, man. So these other nations are becoming privy, alright, to America's schemes, America's bullshit. Alright? Like I said, they don't like it because they are getting affected. They don't like it because they're getting affected. It's messing with their business. So it says in which Slack, I'm gonna just keep reading. It says, this sentiment has in turn resulted in conversation among foreign governments regarding how to circumvent or to go around the American banking system. Okay? Because that's scriptural, man. The scriptures say that let me see, what's that precept? So okay. Obadiah. Chapter 1, verse 7, it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him. And that's the time we coming into, man. They're laying a wound. All right, those that at one point were, like I said, were Confederate and that were eating with Esau, in bed with the devil, in bed with America. All right, they have deceived. They have laid a wound under thee. And hey, that's what they're doing now, is basically they're hurting America's economy. All right, by leaving the American dollar. All right, but that's beautiful, because America, I'm gonna get this precept as well. Like it says, for the wicked Psalms 10:3, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom Yahweh abhorreth. So they're really only out for their own gain, and these nations are beginning to see it, and therefore they're outraged by it, man. In which America has always been out for its own gain, like we just read. Okay? To where, right, it says right here, while the stated Trump administration intention has been to enter into new arrangements more favorable to the United States. Now, if something is more favorable to one party, guess what? That means that to the other party is more unfair, it's more unfavorable. The end result has been quite different, creating a broad consensus within the international community that Washington is unstable, not a reliable partner, and cannot be trusted. This sentiment has in turn resulted in conversations among foreign governments regarding how to circumvent the American banking system, which is the primary offensive weapon apart from dropping bombs that Washington has to force, Washington has to force compliance with its dictates, and that's a fact. And when you watch this, I was watching a few videos, of just how strong that the American dollar is. Now, when you watch, there's a few videos, I advise brothers to, watch when you get a chance. This is a good one. It says, "Who controls all of our money?" And then another good one, the Apostle Tahar, he mentions every so often, is all wars are bankers' wars. And a war is basically, fought with the goal in mind to get everybody on your side. And that's what normally happens, man. After the war is finished being fought, all right, now that nation that lost the war, all right, or even sometimes the nation that actually, now that nation that lost the war, all right, is they end up in debt, which means what? They have to succumb to that banking system, and if not, if you try to get out, it's sanctions on top of sanctions on top of sanctions until you're forced to comply. That's what's happening to Iran. All right, that's what happened to Cuba. That's what's happening to Venezuela, because they won't comply. They being punished for not complying, man. And that's beautiful, man. This also goes to show you that World War III is evident. World War III is evident because these other nations are scheming and consulting together against America. America is going to feel some type of way about that, man. All right? And just as they say, history repeats itself. All right? Now they're going to have to go to war to, get these nations back on track. That's ultimately what's going to happen. They're going to have to go to war to try to get these other nations, all right, those were at one point confederate with them, back on track. So it says, consequently, there has been considerable blowback from the Make America Great Again campaign, particularly as the flip side of the coin appears to be that the greatness will be obtained by making everyone else less great. The only country in the world that currently regards the United States favorably is Israel, which certainly has good reason to do so given the largesse that has come from the Trump administration. You know why? Because Israel, those gutter rats, those so-called Jews, which they're not the Jews, we're the real Jews, you so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. All right? Hey, they get the most, help, as far as them being supported financially. All right? And militarily. All right? Because it's like a win-win for America, because now they have a stronghold over there in the Middle East. All right? So it says everyone else is keen to get out from under the American hill. It says, the worm has finally turned, maybe even the feckless Angela Merkel's Germany now understands that national interest must prevail when the United States is demanding that it do the unspeakable. At the recently concluded G20 meeting in Tokyo, Britain, France, and Germany announced that the special trade mechanism that they have been working on this year is now up and running. It is called the Instrument in Support of Trade Exchange Instex, and it will permit companies in Europe to do business with countries like Iran, avoiding American sanctions by trading outside the SWIFT system, which is dollar dominated and de facto controlled by the US Treasury. Okay? And this is beautiful, man, because America, all right, the land where you Israelites were put in slavery, is losing its power. Okay? And that's what we're waiting for, man. We are ultimately waiting for this World War III, you know, so that America, this place can be taken down and Israel can be in rulership, man. Because America, otherwise known as Babylon or Rome or the fourth beast, has to be taken down. And then after that fourth beast is taken down, like it says in Daniel 7 and 18, all right, Israel shall rule and we shall rule forever and ever. Okay? So it says the significance of the European move cannot be understated. It is the first major step in moving away from the dominance of the dollar as the world's trading and reserve currency. Going hand in hand to what I was saying when you go into this video, all wars are bankers' wars. All right? So it says, as is often the case, the damage to U.S. perceived interest is self-inflicted. There has been talk for years regarding setting up trade mechanisms that will not be dollar-based, but they did not gain any momentum until the Trump administration abruptly withdrew from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action with Iran over a year ago. So that was actually a game changer, man, because now these other nations are beginning to see that was saying, America for who they are, man. The shiesty, backstabbing nation that they are, man. Because it's like having a working part. It's like having somebody you work with, and he's always doing things to fuck you over, man. It's like y'all supposed to be partners, And then after a while, what? You become privy to his bullshit, and you don't want to work with him no more. That's what these other nations are doing. Um, you know, that's what these other nations are doing, which is biblical, man. It says there were other signatories to the JCPOA, all of whom were angered by the White House move, because they believed correctly that it was a good agreement preventing Iranian development of a nuclear weapon while also easing tensions in the Middle East. But the Lord, he purposed to bring, all these nations down to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, as it says in the scriptures. So these things were prophesied to happen. Okay, it says major European powers, Germany, France, and Great Britain, as well as Russia and China, were all signatories in the agreement, and the agreement was endorsed by the United Nations Security Council. The U.S. withdrew in an attempt to destroy the plan of action was therefore viewed extremely negatively by all the other signatories, and their anger increased when Washington declared that it would reinstate sanctions on Iran and also use secondary sanctions to punish any third party that did not comply with the restriction of trade. Okay, and that leads me to the book of Revelations. Chapter 17. I'm going to start at verse 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Because these 10 horns, as I just mentioned, Germany, France, being part of the 10 horns, even when you go into the ancient Roman Empire, they had power. They didn't necessarily have, that power to rule the whole world, but they had power, all right, through they had power to trade and, uh through the ancient Roman Empire, and that's today. They have power, all right, because they gave their or they became, they went in league with America. So I'm gonna read it once more. It says, the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings, one hour with the beast. So they, in a way, in a nutshell, they got a piece of the pie, if you will, because they succumbed to the banking system and the ways of the West, the ways of America. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. And when you read this, you got to understand that a lot of times the Bible kind of jumps, through time periods. All right. So it says, these have one mind and shall give their power and strength to the beast. All right. Germany, France, and those that were allied, with America. All right. They gave their strength unto America, which, as we went into, a way that you could tell that they gave their strength into America is by complying with the central banking system. These shall make war with the Lamb, and this is jumping into World War III. All right, when they fought Yahushua, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. All right, so that's the time we coming into. So it went from one point in time, as we just read in Revelation 17 and verse 13, that these other nations would have given their power, all right, being that money system, dealing in the American dollar. But now we at the point in time to where they shall hate the whore, all right, because what they were, like I said, they fucking it up for America. The whore is messing it up for for these other nations, messing it up in business wise. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And that's going into World War III, because in World War III, all right, like it says in I believe it's Isaiah 9:6, or Isaiah 9:6, how it says, this war shall be with burning and fuel of fire, because that's what it's going to come to, man. Nuclear missiles being shot off from other nations into America. For God had put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the works of God should be fulfilled. All right. So, and when is that? The works of God is the elect being raised up. All right. So at this time, to where you got Akim pushing the word throughout the four corners of the earth, that's to that time being fulfilled. So while they're being woken up, and as they continue to be woken up, all right, which we see what time we in, is that basically, like the Apostle Hart said, they almost all of them basically are woken up, man. Therefore, at this point in time, those nations, all right, that gave their power into the whore, to America, all right, they're beginning to take their power back. All right. So it says Instex is an upgrade of a previous special purpose vehicle set up by the Europeans a year ago to permit trading with Iran without any actual money transfers, something like a barter system based on balancing payments by value. The announcement regarding Instex came as a result of last week's meeting in Vienna, in which the JCPOA signatories minus the US got together with Iran ministry spokesman Abba Mousavi, who called the gathering the last chance for the remaining parties to gather and see how they can meet their commitment towards Iran. Iran is quietly pleased by the development, even though there are critics of arrangement, and the government is officially declaring that Instex is not enough and it will proceed with plans to increase its uranium production. So now, these other nations are basically, taking their power away from or stop. They're not trying to please, America. You know what I'm saying? They're not trying to bend to the will of America, but more so to the will of Iran, America's enemy. All right, because Iran, they hold the oil, man. Therefore, they hold the power, because oil is a name of the game. All right. So it says, this produced an immediate response from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo last week, speaking in New Delhi. If there is conflict, if there is war, if there is a kinetic activity, it will be because the Iranians made the choice, and that's the devil, because that's what Esau does. He instigates a situation, and then now once that party that's being instigated reacts, now is I don't know, why they acting like this. Nevertheless, Instex could possibly be a model for mechanisms that will allow Iran to sell its oil without hindrance from Washington. But a sharp reaction from the White House is expected. While Instex was in the development phase, U.S. observers noted that the Iranian Special Trade and Finance Instrument that will do the actual trading includes government agencies that are already under U.S. sanctions. That likely means that Washington will resort to secondary sanctions on the Europeans and move that will definitely make the bilateral relationships even more poisonous than it already is. We just read that in Obadiah the first Obadiah verse 6. That these other nations that have once ate thy bread, that they have laid a wound under thee. A global trade is a distinct possibility, and as observed above, the abandonment of the dollar as the international reserve currency is a possible consequence. Trump has already been threatened penalties against the financial body created by Germany, the UK, and France to shield trade with the Islamic Republic from U.S. sanctions. Hey man, so we in a beautiful time, man. We in a beautiful time. World War III is popping off. All right, and it's just really just the World War III update, man. Like I said, I definitely advise brothers to watch that all wars are banking wars, and this one, who controls all of our money. All right, just another insight on how we understand that World War III is coming soon. Hey, so with that, shalom to the elect.